I buy more, I'm more happy. And what happens when you have a lot? What are you going to do with that? Okay. The most common association with happiness is money, wealth. Always people say, more money makes me happy. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Is it really more, does it really mean that more wealth makes you happy? There is no doubt. It's a fact that money makes things easier. No doubt. You can buy things and you can make things easier for you. But does that make you happy is the question. Let's take a look in the rich countries since 1950. So we don't go back, and the history repeats itself. But since 1950, the rich countries, they have more, don't they? You agree that Sweden has more than Bangladesh. And Switzerland has more than Syria. Don't you agree? No. But from 50 years ago until now, they have more. But does that make them more happy? Ask people in this country back in 1960s and 1950s. They had less. But we don't compare. We always confuse the haves with happiness. Having something doesn't necessarily mean that you're happier. And you all recall, even in the poor countries now, people in the old days, your grandparents and your great-grandparents, when you ask your parents about them, they say, well, they had nothing. They were living in a little hut of mud and clay, and they barely had bread and something and some water to eat. But subhanallah, their life was filled with happiness and barakah. Subhanallah. It seems like it's not really related to having more. Having more is not always. The problem with money is, the problem with wealth is that it has diminished returns. What does that mean, diminished returns? Okay. If you have higher income, you're used to more things. You need more things to make you happy. You need more things to keep you on the same old happiness level. Now, you have more needs to be happy. If those needs are taken away from you, you are not happy. Therefore, we in Islam believe that the one who is happy is not the one who needs things to be happy, but the one who needs less things to be happy. Subhanallah. More than that, wealth always comes with comparative, because human beings tend to compare. What does that mean? Well, he makes $100,000, I make only 50. That makes him more happy, it makes me less happy. They have. So what does that mean? There's always a problem in that human heart that they have, so I must rise to that level, I must struggle. I am less happy because they have and I don't. These things, you see examples of life that we deal with every day. Therefore, Al-Islam came with a system called Al-Zakah. Subhanallah. Al-Zakah means growth in the Arabic language. Yuzakki ayyanmu, to grow. This zakah, when you give it away, subhanallah, you grow both spiritually and in wealth. And people didn't realize that. For example, you see why Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu wa arda, he came to the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and he gave him all his money. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Where is this attachment to money? What happened to money? But some people, subhanallah, money then blinds them. What happens is they don't see anything else. They have more, I have to have. But no matter how rich you get, others are richer. There always will be more rich people than you are. Subhanallah. I'll give you an example of some people. Among the people who were from the Mu'allafa Qulubuhum. Mu'allafa Qulubuhum were people, a group of people who were paid to sort of become Muslims and sort of little bit make their hearts softer. Safwan bin Umayyah, among the people. He said, غَزَوْتُ مَعَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. This is by Al-Aqd al-Farid al-Andalusi. He mentions this narration. He says, this man, Safwan bin Umayyah, he says, I went with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to a war. And no one was more hated in my heart than him. Subhanallah, he's with him, but he hates nobody on the face of the earth more than him. After the war is over, he kept giving me money, giving me money, giving me money, until I loved him more than anybody else. So we evaluate people sometimes, how much they have and how much they give. Notice. But when we realize this is all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just like you came, you will exit. Just like you entered, you will leave. then you realize you're all what? This is only an amana in your heart, in your hands. Naam? Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala sallam. Let's go to another thing that they associate. So therefore it turns out that the money really, or wealth, does not coincide with happiness. And you see people, subhanallah al-azim, with nothing. Go to some poor countries sometimes, and we all mention, we all have been to some of them, I am sure. And you see people, you see people in the huts, in the deserts, or in places that are almost remote, but they live happily and they have generosity more than people who live in palaces. Subhanallah. Now we go more. People associate, then the second thing, people associate happiness with opportunities. Yes, that is true. Lack of opportunities and lack of hope is directly related to happiness. Why? Look in the third world, Muslim countries and these things. What is happening in Muslim countries? Lack of hope and opportunity. You have a few people who control everything, because most Muslim countries are under dictatorships pretty much, or sort of a dictatorship if it's not. So what happens is you have a few people who control all the opportunities and all the hopes. Therefore the laymen there, the youth, what is the problem with the Muslim youth in the Muslim countries? They don't see any opportunities, therefore they become hopeless. And they believe, there's a belief that, well, today is just like tomorrow, what's the difference? No matter what I do, it will not affect my position. Isn't that true? But notice Al-Islam gives you exactly the opposite. Islam gives you three things: hope, growth, and opportunity. And therefore Al-Quran stresses on this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Those who are hopeless are those who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine if the Sahaba radwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een were to be hopeless in their society, that where their properties were confiscated, where their homes were destroyed, where their kids were being slaughtered, where their wives were being murdered, where they themselves were being ejected out of their countries. Then what would happen to them if they have given up? No. There's always hope, and we have to make these opportunities. Remember I said one time before, there are three kinds of people. If the brothers who have kids, if they can sort of have them either remain silent inshallah, or put them in the back, barakallahu feekum. That's just because my mind is so weak and I can't do two things at the same time. Now, okay. Now, Subhanallah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. These lacks of opportunity, it leads people to all these kinds of things. The third kind of confusing happiness with other things is freedom. Happiness needs freedom. What does that mean? I always give this example of the flower. A human being, dear brothers and sisters, is like a flower. Any flower requires freedom to what? To grow, and so it can smell good, and so it can give you the smell and this look that you desire in a flower. In order for a flower to be productive from our point of view, it has to have air, it has to have sun, it has to have freedom. If you take this flower and put it in a cellar, or put it in a cupboard, and you close it from air, you close it from sunshine, you take away water from it, what will happen to this flower? تذبل وتموت. It will die. And human beings are just like this. In order for a human being to prosper, in order for a human being to give, in order for a human to be productive, in order for a human being to actually become just like the flower and open up, you have to have this freedom. And what is occupying most of the Muslim people in the Muslim countries? They are busy securing their food every single day. Notice. Now I mentioned